Hello, my name is Rachel Nee, and this is my formal analytical report presentation, commonly known as the FAR. To begin, I started with my proposal. This is a professional business proposal consisting of my ideas for improvement in the medical field of nursing, primarily focusing on geriatric care. So the background is, to put my plans into action, Osprey Point needs many policy changes put into place. Last month, I sent a memo about a few changes I would like to add to my list. I'm proposing that we request a fund to remodel the current shower room at Osprey Point. After our brainstorming session, I believe we are ready to move forward with our joint plans to better the lives of our residents at Osprey Point. So we're continuing on with the proposal. The needs assessment. We've already met with the director heads at Osprey Point Nursing Center, and a few concerned citizens of our shared community brought up a few limitations and needs. Based on those meetings, we have identified the following needs as important. We need to maintain patient privacy while implementing the shower room changes, and we also need to locate a competent company to distribute the materials that we need for the job, and we need to also avoid any physical changes to the independent resident rooms because that could disturb their living. We also need to use sterile and advanced materials to remodel the room for sure, and ensure the fewest interruptions to the residents' lives during the course of the remodeling. And also, and most importantly, avoid disturbing the nurses' station in any way, because that is the most important thing for the residents to get their medicine on time and treatments on time. The proposal continued. So after the backup and making sure we know what we need, we have a plan. So based on the needs above, or on the last slide, on the overall Osprey Point remodeling plan, safety and OSHA regulations, and the suggested timeline created, I propose we remodel the existing shower room to better serve the residents with these following conditions. We need to situate the new shower room in the same place as the existing one to prevent any alteration of any other area in the vicinity, like the rooms or the nursing station or storage rooms. We also need to replace all the tile, drywall, sinks, toilets, shower equipment, and lights in the shower room. We need to also work with our construction team to create a safe environment for the residents, because that's what's most important. And we will begin demolition on August 1st so we can get started as soon as possible while leaving one shower always open for residents. This project is to be completed on August 15th, pending interruptions that could set us back. Moving on, our limitations, there is a few of them. So any remodeling plan in a working facility could bring unanticipated issues for our team. For instance, we may have to use other showers in private rooms for bathing residents, which may cause confusion for the residents. They might be wondering, why is this person in my shower? So we'd have to explain that, and it might be a little tough, so we might run into that limitation. Continuing on with the proposal. As you can see on the slide, there is a independent shower design here, and it gives you dimensions and how I think they should look. And there will also be 4 of these showers with the addition of 1 sink and 1 toilet. So, explaining the proposal. To construct this document, I completed 4 steps, which are explained on the slide below. I read and understood the instructions and wrote up a plan to keep me on track during the process, which is the most important thing, to stay on track while you're doing a project. I also referred to steps A through G on page 553 in our textbook because they were really helpful. I then began gathering information concerning my plan and its use and purpose. I also made sure I was citing my sources along the way because, without citing, you can't use them. I then put all the information together in a Word document according to APA standards and gathered pictures at this point to add to my findings. The schematics of the shower room, I gathered that. Lastly, I went over my document and made any changes to it as needed for grammar issues or things like that. For my second report in my formal analytic report is my progress report. So the project overview is: a formal analytic report has been requested in my technical and professional writing class. I have completed a proposal so far, and I have an audience report, revision and editing, and a 10-minute presentation left to finish, which I'm doing now. So the work completed, I started on June 11th, and I took a look at the requirements and constructed a plan, to complete the requested assignments. The next day on June 12th, I began assembling together the materials needed for the assignment, and I completed the proposal on that day. On June 13th, the next day, I accumulated the other contents for the rest of the required assignments and got them all together. So moving on in the progress report, I have this work in progress. When I did this, the work in progress was my audience report, FAR revision and editing report, and my 10-minute presentation. And those were underway at this point. And my work to be completed are also the same as listed above. And my complications. The issue of confusion about instructions and also finding a technical definition held me back a few hours. The problem was resolved by referring to my technical communication textbook and the Q&A discussion board provided for students. Lastly, the issues that presented themselves to me may have held me back, but they were resolved quickly with my resources. Moving on, explaining my progress report. To construct this document, I completed four steps. I read and understood the instructions and wrote up a plan to keep me on track. I referred to steps H through I on page 553 in the textbook. I began gathering things and made lists and made sure I was citing my sources. I put all the information together next in a Word document, and then I went over the Word document and make sure it was correct, and it was. Moving on to the third document in my formal analytical report is my audience report. So audience and purpose. My primary audience was Inell Thompson, and a secondary audience, Jennifer, her granddaughter. I know they're old family friends, but they're also a possible resident of Osprey Point Nursing Center. The purpose of this document was to help in gaining an important remodeling project. The audience and purpose statement is to pave the way for a future resident to endorse our project. And the intended use of the document is to provide information and rationale for a recommendation. There is no technical background and prior knowledge about this topic. This woman, Inell Thompson, is familiar with nursing homes and remodeling that occurs within, and she will need information such as benefits related to this health and safety and statistics with the new design, and there are no cultural considerations at this time. Some probable questions Inell Thompson may come up with is how will this remodeling affect the residents? How long will it take? And is it really worth it? So I'll answer those questions accordingly. The audience's probable attitude and personality. They will be interested but still concerned. They will probably think that it would be too disruptive for the residents, but we'll make sure that they know it won't. And they'll be interested but wary. And the workplace will be busy, but accommodations will be available to the residents. And the persons most affected by this document are Thompson and her close family. And Thompson exhibits a conventional approach to procedures affecting the residents in any way, which is a nice thing to have. It's refreshing that someone actually cares. And they will react to this document and be secure in their decisions. The audience expectations about the document. Material important to this audience is evidence that the renovations will not harm the residents, because that's what she's most worried about. Potential problems could be that readers may have other concerns not answered or brought up in the document. And the length and detail is a focused argument with clear intentions. Format and medium is an official letter delivered through the mail, and the tone is welcoming, reassuring, and assertive. Due date and timing as soon as possible so we can demonstrate our dedication to resident safety and concerns. So the audience report explained, I completed this in 4 steps. I first read and understood the instructions that were given to me, and I also referred to J through K on page 553 in my textbook. I then gathered my information, put it into a Word document, and then checked it for mistakes. Okay, so the last report in my formal analytical report is the revision and editing report, which is the most important to me. So the first report is by an editor named Lieutenant Donald Nee, and his profession is a lieutenant with the Sumter County Sheriff's Office, and he gave me 4 suggestions. Add a table of content, make sure citing sources was correct, and proofread for any errors in the end. And the end result, after obtaining his advice, I took a careful look at each of the 3 suggestions individually. I first created a table of contents, after that I cited my sources appropriately, and lastly I went through my whole project and fixed small errors I found within. My second revision and editing report was by editor Holly Hulinek, and her profession was a massage therapist. Her suggestions were 2. Make sure to meet all the requirements for the project. Go back and change all font to match with color coordination and all that on the slides. So the end result, upon reading Miss Hulinek's responses to my project, I went back through my work to effectively use her suggestions. Firstly, I made sure I met all the requirements, and next, I changed all my font and colors to match and look appealing. The revisioning editing report explained is to construct this document. I completed 4 steps. I read and understood the instructions and made a plan. Then I referred to steps L through M on page 553 in the textbook. I then began gathering information from my editors and made sure I was citing my sources. Then I put them all together in a Word document and then checked them for mistakes. Overall, these 4 documents have taught me a lot about how the business world works. I've learned how to plan, execute, and review feedback and use feedback. This report has also been eye-opening and helpful towards my overall education. I'm glad I had the opportunity to complete it. And then on the next slide you will see my work cited, and it's citing the schematic drawings for the nursing home shower room. Again, thank you for listening to my formal analytical report presentation.